For decades, we were told that technology would build us a better world. One that's more connected, super efficient, and just more powerful. But now, as our lives are basically all digital, we're finding ourselves in a much, much more complicated reality. So, what happened to that utopian dream? And more importantly, who's writing the rules for our digital future now? All right, let's get into it. This quote from a major player in tech design, it just hits you, right? It perfectly captures this tension we're all feeling. That early, breathless optimism has been replaced by a world of misinformation, hate speech, and this growing gap between the promise and what's actually happening. It's almost like a confession that somewhere along the line, something went really wrong. So here's our game plan for this explainer. We're going to start with that big, grand utopian dream. Then we'll zoom way in to see how tech is actually built, using a really fascinating case study. After that, we'll look at how you respond to all this change, dig into the hidden human costs, and finally, we'll zoom all the way back out to see how global powers are now scrambling to write a new blueprint for all of it. Okay, first up, let's go back to the beginning. Where did all this optimism even come from? It's rooted in this powerful idea that we could literally engineer a perfect society with science. Now, this isn't some single, organized movement. Think of it more like a recurring belief that's woven through modern history. The core idea is simple. If we just have enough scientific progress, we can solve all of humanity's biggest problems: poverty, war, maybe even death itself. It's a really powerful and, let's be honest, very seductive vision of progress with no limits. But here's the crucial part. For every single one of those utopian promises, it seems like a dystopian shadow has emerged right alongside it. The dream of connecting the world, well, it also created the perfect pathways for misinformation. The tools that were supposed to empower every individual, they also enabled surveillance and wealth concentration on a scale we've never seen before. Turns out the line between utopia and dystopia is incredibly thin. Okay, so let's shift gears from that abstract dream to the messy, complicated reality of how technological progress actually gets made. And for that, we're going to go inside one of the world's biggest online platforms, Booking.com. So this is the core principle that drives everything they do. And you have to admit, it's pretty radical. It means a junior designer, fresh out of school, can test a totally new homepage layout, even if the CEO hates it. It's a culture that truly democratizes the whole process of discovery and shifts power away from what they call the hippo, the highest paid person's opinion. This number just blows my mind. It gives you a sense of the sheer scale of their operation. This isn't about a few big, brilliant ideas. No, it's a relentless, non-stop engine of trial and error. Progress comes from tens of thousands of tiny, rigorous experiments running all the time. A 10% success rate, that means a 90% failure rate. That sounds terrible, doesn't it? But for Booking.com, that's literally the secret to their success. In their system, failure isn't a mistake, it's just data. Every failed test helps them quickly kill off a bad idea and zero in on the few that actually work. So how on earth do they make this work? Well, it pretty much boils down to these 4 pillars. They build a culture of curiosity, where surprises are treated like learning opportunities. They have a strict rule that data, not opinions, makes the final call. They give everybody the tools they need to test their own ideas. And crucially, they encourage a lot of internal debate about the ethics of what they're testing. This question from their chief product officer really gets to the heart of it all. This isn't about the technology itself. It's about the culture. It requires a kind of intellectual humility right from the very top. Are leaders willing to let go of their own egos and trust the process, even when the data proves their gut feeling was totally wrong? That kind of experimental culture, it doesn't just happen at a company level, it really starts with the individual. How any organization handles change depends on the psychology of the people in it. So think about this for yourself. How do you react when some new piece of tech shows up at your job? Your answer reveals your digital mindset. Okay, the first part of your mindset is how you view ability itself. If you have what's called a fixed belief, you see skills as something you're born with. You either have it or you don't. So you'll probably avoid challenges to avoid looking dumb. But if you have a growth belief, you see ability as something that can be developed through effort, which makes challenges feel like an opportunity to learn. The second part is how you view resources. A zero-sum belief means you see the world as a fixed pie. If technology gets a bigger slice, that means you lose. It turns everything into a competition.
But an expandable sum belief sees technology as a way to make the whole pie bigger, creating new opportunities so everyone can gain together through collaboration. And when you combine those two sets of beliefs, you get these four pretty distinct mindsets. You've got the skeptic, who sees new tech as a threat to their job, the master, who learns the new skills just so they can get a leg up on others. Then there's the free rider, who likes the benefits of new tech but wants someone else to do the hard work. And finally, the transformer, who learns and collaborates to create new value for everybody. Which one of those sounds the most like you?
All right, let's widen our view again, because beyond our individual mindsets, technology is fundamentally changing the very nature of skilled work itself. And it's having some serious and often hidden consequences. So in the past, think of a pilot or even a driver as a system controller. They were an active, hands-on participant. They were constantly engaged in this feedback loop with their machine. Their attention was high and their skills were always being sharpened.
But with all the modern automations we have today, a lot of those same professionals have become system monitors. They're not active participants anymore. They're passive observers, just watching a system that runs itself. They only need to jump in that rare emergency when the automation fails.
And this shift creates some huge problems. I mean, when you're not actively controlling something, your skills start to decay. Your reaction time gets slower. You're way more likely to make what are called mode errors. Basically, misunderstanding what the automation is doing at a critical moment. And to make it worse, organizations, because they trust the tech so much, often cut back on the very training people need for those rare but life-or-death situations. So given all these challenges, from our kind of broken utopian dreams to the real-world impact on our jobs and our skills, how are we supposed to steer this massive ship? Well, that answer is now being debated at the very highest levels of global power. A great example is something called the Atlantic Declaration. It's a huge economic partnership between the US and the UK, and it's built on one core idea: that technology, economics, and national security are now all deeply intertwined. You just can't treat them as separate issues anymore. And when you look at their action plan, you can see just how comprehensive this new approach is. It's about leading in critical tech like AI and quantum computing, securing supply chains so they don't break, and partnering on a digital transformation that's both responsible and inclusive. I mean, this is basically what geopolitics looks like in the 21st century. And this isn't just talk. We're already seeing it in action. For example, the US committed to attending the first ever global summit on AI safety. This is a massive shift. The future of code is no longer being decided just in Silicon Valley. It's now being hashed out in the halls of international diplomacy. Which leaves us with this final big question. As technology just keeps accelerating, who is ultimately responsible for steering it? Is it the companies building the tech? Is it us, the people using it every day? Or is it the governments trying to put guardrails on it? The answer is probably all three. And I think finding that balance is really the defining challenge of our time.